nice and big, and it just serves as a good example of kind of general nematode biology. Not that everything is constant, but there's a lot of characteristics of the nematodes that we'll be talking about in class that we can see nicely here. So it'll help if you do the dissection first, because all that spaghetti in there, if we cut it crosswise, it looks like a lot of little pipes. And so the biggest spaghetti, the biggest tube was the uterus. So here are the two uteri on the female, the medium-sized tubing. Since it goes all back and forth like that, there's more than two of them. Right? Like a lot of times you only have two uteri because they're big, but we'll have a lot of oviduct, and then the smaller circles are ovary. The in-between, I'm not going to try to hammer you on is that ovary or oviduct. Same way it goes with the dissection. I want to make it very obvious which one it is. If you're not sure, and if it's not obvious, I'll give you credit for either one. But on the cross-section, the oviduct looks a little different. The ovaries are solid. The oviducts are kind of solid. They look like wagon wheels a little bit in there. If we look in the uterus, we can see eggs in there. It looks different inside. And it's also much bigger around. You see the musculature. Now, a lot of this stuff is late. I think it's on your sheet that you have to find. The nematodes have a system of both, they have dorsal and ventral and also two lateral cords that contain both nervous and excretory structures. You can find those cords on the cross sections, and they form the kind of these lateral line-looking structures you can even see from the outside of the worm. And this one doesn't show us the dorsal and ventral cord, and we won't worry about which one's which all that much, but try to find those cords. Lateral cords are probably more evident. This is a section through the esophagus. You don't have to worry about that. Okay? You're not going to see that, but you will see some of these. This is the muscle. Okay? We have a false body cavity, but there is a body cavity. This is the male. And most of what you see here is testis. Again, the spaghetti that's going back and forth, and we're sectioning it like that. We get testis. The intestine is often very flat, so it's not hard to tell the intestine. It doesn't even look like a circle. Okay? And the intestine looks a little more like a circle on this one, but it's different from these other parts. We have testis, vas deferens, and seminal vesicle. Now he has this one labeled a little different than maybe the handout I gave you. I learned that testis and then the medium-sized stuff is vas deferens. And what he's got a V on here, I would probably call seminal vesicle. So I don't want to cause confusion. Go with what's on the handout, and you'll be fine. Okay? If we get to the test, I happen to ask that one, and I counted wrong. Remind me that Sullivan said that was vas deferens. I'll probably give it back to you. Okay? But go with what's on the handout that I gave you as far as that goes. Okay, so that's the cross sections. They're big, they're easy to see. You shouldn't have any problems with those. All right, let's move on down the line. Eggs to species. You got to recognize asterisk eggs. And members of this family, their eggs look quite similar, but the only one we're going to have is the Ascaris lumbricoides or Ascarissuum egg. Either one is okay. We'll consider those kind of interchangeable. You may remember that we talked a little bit about how resistant these eggs are to the environment, but they have certainly a very characteristic appearance, especially since they have this fourth kind of extra layer to the egg. So most of them are going to be, you see some variation here, but most of them actually must be comparing asterid eggs here. I think the top one looks like asteris to me. Let's see what he says. Let's see. Worm eggs. So they're all eggs of Ascaris lumbricoides. Top row, it's a different magnification. Top row is the same magnification as trematode egg and chapter 6, whatever. They look like this, okay? Like this one here. That's what they could have some variation, be a little more oval shaped, but they got that bumpy mammillated layer on the outside, make it easy to recognize. Okay, then we'll move into the order Oxyrida. These are the pinworms. Enterobius formicularis. Actually, somewhere we should have those later. Yeah, it's a little different order than we're going to go. Actually, I'm going backwards. I'm sorry, I'm on lab 11. Let's just keep going on lab 11. It doesn't matter. We'll go to Anaerobius. Pinworm's going to be easy to recognize. All you're going to see is females. If you see males, there may be some on the slide. Look at them. They're cool. They're very tiny. You almost only ever find these in patients. These are the ones that wiggle out onto the perineal region and cause extreme itchiness when they lay their eggs, especially at night, especially the little kids we talk about. But it's they're characterized by these caudal alli, the cuticle flares out here. They have a very bulbous esophagus, which he's not showing us on this picture. I'm trying to see if I asked you. I just said adults to Ovary, uterus, and vagina. Okay, and recognize the adults of species for anaerobius. But it's not a very, this is not a terribly good picture, but the esophagus right in this region where I'm pointing at is very bulbous. You might want to just make a note of that or something, because that will help you to recognize that group. The oxyurids tend to be characterized by that somewhat. I'm surprised he didn't show that in this picture. Okay. Let's see, eggs to species. We won't have too much trouble with pinworm eggs of anaerobius. Oh, did you guys all forget? I forgot to get you. Were you guys sitting down there waiting on us? No? Oh, you're just doing something. Okay. Here's anaerobius eggs. They're pretty small. This is a 50 micrometer bar. They're very almost transparent, the shell is. And you got a little nematode larvae, and they're kind of bent over in half. So it makes it like a line down the middle where the worm's bent over and touching itself in the middle. So that kind of looks like it helps to make them look very characteristic. You have a hard time missing anaerobius eggs if you look at a couple of them. Okay, and since we're going to talk about some of the filarial nematodes. Dirofilaria immitis is the dog heartworm. Maybe they got a picture of that. We got some in here. In fact, down there at the bottom where it says Dirofilaria immitis, microfilaria, it's a stage. Add, write this down, adult in dog heart. Here's the adult in the dog heart. But I want you to I always put it out, and then I put it on the test, and somebody's like, it's not on the list. Put it on the list. Okay, here it is. Look at it. It's in a dog heart. That doesn't tell you what it is when you put it the dog heartworm. When you look at it, it'll give you a clue. That's Dirofilaria immitis. The microfilaria stage is characteristic of this group, and they use insects as intermediate hosts. So this is the stage that would be, it's produced in this case in the dog, will be circulating in the blood. That's how mosquitoes get infected. And the dog's infected by injecting microfilaria when they take a blood meal. As part of the life cycle. They're pretty small. This is some red blood cells. So we have some new slides of Dirofilaria immitis. They're blue. But we had like one good slide before and had one microfilaria on it. But I think we're probably in better shape now. So make sure you recognize that. But all you have to do is recognize the stage. Okay, I know that this is Dirofilaria. You know that too. That's what I'm going to show you. But the other members of this group also produce that stage. So recognize that as a microfilaria. A relative of this that's also a filarial nematode that's an important parasite of humans is Onchocerca volvulus. This causes river blindness. The adults are in nodules, pretty large nodules under the skin. And that's where, so what you're going to see is a section through one of these nodules, kind of like the ascaris dissection. You've got fairly long adult worms in there that are chopped in half in various places. So what you're looking at is sections through these worms. There's a couple of worms that are all just like spaghetti in there and cut in half. But you may even see where there's a couple of uteri. You can see the uteri pretty nice on these females. I'm not going to make you recognize that, but that's what you're looking